Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Would you have the clerk report House Committee Substitute 1?
Mr. Clerk, please report.
House Committee Substitute 1 to Senate Bill 207.
Gentleman from Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. House Committee Substitute 1 is an addition to the original Senate Bill 207. Starts on Section 11 on page 46 if the members want to follow along. And I believe this is a very important addition to our education system. What this would do, members, is we currently have in statute a state textbook commission. This commission has actually not met in several years. This would set up a task force, the State Quality Curriculum Task Force. And what this would, how this would work is they would go through, the Department of Education could establish a materials depository for the schools of the Commonwealth. This task force would go through, they would go through the review process, make sure that these are evidence-based curriculum. That is very crucial in our school system. They would also, when they go through and select these, they would be able to designate an entity to serve as the department's agent to carry out the responsibilities of the depository. And what they would be able to do is they would be able to leverage the power of the Commonwealth School through volume to negotiate prices on behalf of the department and the school districts to save our school districts money. That's a very important component. Another important component of this addition would be that this depository would be able to identify which schools teach which curriculums and use which curriculums and high-quality instructional materials, and they'd be able to review the Kentucky's summative assessment test so we have data on which curriculum are actually being used and how successful they are being. Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to entertain any questions, but at this point I would move for adoption of House Committee Sub 1.
Question before the body is on adoption of House Committee Substitute 1. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay. Motion carries. House Committee Substitute 1 is adopted. Gentleman from Spencer.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Now to the original Senate Bill 207. And we're talking about innovation in our public school systems. You may be aware that we currently have in statutes what's referred to as districts of innovation. Now, I've done a little research on this, and statute several years old, there were actually 5 school districts that received waivers to be districts of innovation a few years ago. They were on 5-year contracts. When those contracts ran out, I asked that none of those schools renewed their contracts. So I actually had an opportunity to speak to a former superintendent of one of these schools, and this superintendent basically told me that there wasn't really any provision in the District of Innovation they could not already get through the waiver system. Well, this is a new approach to looking at schools of innovation. Back in 2023, attended the Council for State Government South annual meeting in Charleston, South Carolina. Myself, as well as the sponsor of this legislation, Senator West, Chairman of the Senate Education Committee, had an opportunity to tour a school. It was the Meeting Street Elementary Burns School. This was a school that was in a high poverty area. They had had not done well academically. They adopted this School of Innovation approach. They actually brought in an education service provider to help them through this process, and that school has seen magnificent results. This legislation does not require any school to go this route. What it does do is it allows a local board of education, a school district, to request waivers from the Kentucky Department of Education from current requirements of administrative regulations or from statutes. These waivers would last for 3 years. They would expire on June 30th of the 3rd full year after the first request was approved, unless they are an amendment allows a waiver to be extended. There are several things on page 1 of the statute that outline which things are not allowed to have a waiver requested for them. We're talking about things like health and safety, civil rights, federal laws, several other things there you can look on subsections 1A through J. This is an innovative approach. Now, we have many schools across our state that are doing well, but we also have many schools that are struggling. We've talked on this floor about CSI schools, comprehensive support and intervention. And this is a way for a school district, if they want to think outside the box, to innovate and provide an opportunity to do things differently. Mr. Speaker, I'd be happy to entertain any questions. This time I move for passage of Senate Bill 207 as amended by House Committee Sub 1.